But, I think the most important is the piece that we can control, and that's just our motivation, our focus, and it's really no different than what it's been throughout our entire process. And is keeping it on, making our standard daily, a real strong expectation.
You know Jerry Kill. You coached against him when you were at Wisconsin, and you know of him as well. Does that help a little bit or not?
Yeah, it does. I think he is simple. I think he is basic and fundamental. I think he's a ball coach. And so I think, my anticipation with that would be that they're going to try to do simple better. But, I think for us, that is going to be kind of our through our coordinator's vein of, along with my help, but really kind of making it so where we can focus with our players as much on the outside in terms of their technique and their schemes as with the inside, and that's their motivation and their focus and then kind of their internal drive.
Your thoughts about what you said about Gary Patterson in the media session, defense, respect from you because of what he's done, and it's kind of like almost how much you respect what he is as a defensive mind.
Yeah, I think, just coming up with him. So when I was kind of coming up, Gary Patterson, that's when he first started to be the guy. And I think, the way that he looked at defense, or he started to look at defense then, and it became more fashionable after him. He was really one of the first, was to look at defense as you would be on offense, as calling a defense, call out the front, call out the linebackers, call out the secondary, and each in the call give them a job description where they're not necessarily tied to each other, right? By the call, it's all individually pieced like a sentence where they can go out and really create havoc and be way, way multiple. And I think at that time, that was something, you would, like if we were to go on Google right now, we could type up, West Coast offensive play names, right? And pull up some long play names where they describe what everybody's doing on everything. And Gary was the first on defense that was really doing that in college at a real high level. And so I think that thing just took off. And then just from there, just his techniques of playing three backs and playing spread sets and playing no huddle and just all of it, just way forward thinker.
I'm one of those that remembers things that I'm not trying, but I saw one day you had your book open, your calendar. You have the tiniest handwriting, but it's the neatest from top to bottom of every day. How methodical are you with that?
Pretty strong. I think, that's probably the only part of my life that I can control is that book right there. And so I take some pride in that. But I think like a lot of that comes from the early morning, which is one of my favorite times because you go through kind of I think every morning you've got yourself a new team. And so it gives me the ability to kind of, where people's hearts are at or what happened yesterday and how I can help, or am I getting in the way, or which player needs to be seen, what needs to be said, right? Where are we falling below the standard, below the line? We need to recognize someone because they're way achieving high and they're doing it in the dark, and we need to give them some light. And so I think like all of those things happen in the morning with that schedule. And I think without having that time, you would not be as intentional as you could.
People who know me, I have a reminder to remind myself of a sticky note that might remind me of an alarm that goes off in my phone. It's kind of like a cross-check just to make sure. Hidden yardage. Both teams did a great job with special teams because both dynamic returners. With Rauschenberg with the constant touchbacks. Isaac, when he punted. The coverage teams. How proud are you right now? Hankins, the story out of nowhere. How proud are you of what they're doing as a group?
Really strong. I think they're, I give Coach Powledge a lot of credit. I think there is really, really strong buy-in to special teams and how they influence a game and playing complementary football. And so I think, the ability to contribute on that squad, not only from guys that maybe are not seeing a lot of time and want to get on the field, but guys that are starters and guys that are seeing a lot of time but want to be on this unit because it's going to help the team. I think there's complete buy-in from all sides of it, and I think when you have that, and then I think with Powell, the ability to keep it simple, the ability to put playmakers in the best position to succeed, and stress fundamentals, good things happen.
What does it say about you and your staff, though? You found Hankins out of nowhere, basically, I think Arkansas, and what he's done. And then also when you made the decision to look for a running back for the offense in the Abram Smith story with, Joey McGuire played against him and Coach Wetzel knew of him and so did others. What does that say that you guys have been able to find those diamonds and what they're doing?
Yeah, I think it's more, it's the guys, and I think it's seeing people first. I think I think it is, it's as a coach, just not getting in the way of not getting an ego to where it becomes, if you're in a thing, it becomes now another thing. It's putting all that you have into them as people so that they feel like, I can believe in myself, or, I can give everything I got and ain't no one going to come at me like this or that. I think when there is that type of environment, and that's players and coaches both, right, where it's like the team is first, then I think you can really have a lot of growth. And I think we're still in the process of that.
You mentioned when the interceptions were brought up about playing green or playing yellow. What were you saying? Yeah,
so the stoplight. So I think there's a fair amount of. I look at it just in life. I think green would be your authentic self, man. Totally, not trying to be somebody you're not. Not trying to perform or act your way through a thing. Just really feeling confident about who you are. And, you bring your identity into every room you go, as opposed to going into a room and taking the identity of every room that you walk into. And that would be playing green. And I think on the football field, that would be, playing full speed, right? No, courage over any form of comfort where I'm kind of holding back, right? Putting yourself out there. Yellow would be, if it's life, it would be, I got this job because it pays some money, and I don't necessarily like the people here, and I'm kind of doing it just to get by. I'm gonna get another job, or every morning I got to put on this face and be this for someone, and I don't even know. And yellow in football would be, I don't really know. I think I'm supposed to do this. I'm gonna try. I'm kind of halfway in, halfway out. Right. When times get tough, I kind of make it up. Right. So yellow is kind of pumping the brakes, seeing if it's safe. Can you be you? Can you not? And red would be palms up. Red would be transfer portal, fisticuffs. It would be blow-ups. It would be breakups.
Speaking of that, and I think it was amazing, you brought this up. This is a picture of the Berenstain Bears books, and you brought this up.
It's a bad decision.
No, it was fantastic.
Really
old hat, new hat, when you're talking about things you're comfortable with or things you're trying to find. First of all, I think the book sales exploded over the weekend.
Oh, man.
I had to ask you about that. That's just that. For someone like me,
Yeah.
You didn't like You didn't like that?
No, I think it's.
It made sense.
Yeah, it's something I've always been able to look at. I've always seen how stuff connects, and so, I remember that book, and I just feel like I remember as a coordinator, I love the old hat, and so there'd be, but you would have to. It wasn't so much the new hat you were getting. There would be times you would get the new hat. It was more about the Bernstein Bear search. That's really what it is. And if you're true to that, and you ask the right questions, and you go through the search the right way, and you get to the old hat, then that's where it's supposed to be. If you're true to the search, and you ask the right questions, and you're honest with yourself, right, and you take input from other parties, other people that are in the room with you, and that leads you to a new hat, then so be it. But I think you have to recognize that the search is important and spend time doing that. And I think sometimes, so that's the focus on the process again. I think so many people focus on where they're, what they're trying to get to, and they miss it.
I thought it was brilliant. I did. Speaking of searches, you had brought up a couple weeks ago, the question was asked about your name out there, and Joey's name today, and then Gary Patterson, and now what they're doing. Are agents involved in telling coaches what they can say? Like Mike Tomlin, I don't know if you saw what he said. He said, never say never, but never. He was very angry about his name coming up. He's coaching the Steelers. They've had 3 coaches in forever. Is that something that is, how is that you, because you gave an answer that you love it here at Baylor. Grant Tapp told me today that you are a perfect fit for Baylor and that you're not one that's going to be looking around. How do coaches go about having to answer that? And does it get to be the kind of tiresome?
No, I think I think it is part and parcel. I think whether, either way, if you're losing, there's going to be stuff, and if you're winning, there's going to be stuff. And so, I think, you'd rather have this stuff, I guess. But, for me, like, the opportunity to grow as a person is really, I think I said it last week, I talk more now in a day than I probably did in a week at LSU. And that's, that's kind of embarrassing to say, but that's the truth. And so I think like the growth, and I think what Baylor provides is seeing people, spiritual growth, value in who you are as a person, and interpersonal relationships, treat people the right way, class, integrity. And those are all things that just, like what Coach Taft was saying, they fit with how I believe. And so I think it's a growth in that space. I think for almost becoming a machine at LSU, for example, just as an assistant coach with just football. And then, I think you and I have talked before about the stresses and how that can push you to extremes. And I think, I remember when we were recruiting Apu, he wanted to get on the phone with me, and I wanted to get on the phone with him, and we're talking, and I could tell there was some kind of awkwardness on the phone. And I go, you're probably wondering what it's like with me as a head coach. And he goes, yeah, man, I don't even know. So it's like, so I said, I appreciate that, man. I can see why, And so we talked about all that, and I think it's just like the growth. I think so. The growth as a person, that's the thing. I think the stuff as a coach, I think, is all just that's just a byproduct of it. So I think like the more, I don't know, people would probably call them soft skills, but those soft skills do hard things, way hard things. And I think the better you are with those skills, like empathy, right, being transparent, selflessness, communication, like listening to understand, all of those things I think have been way strong for me here. And those things I've always believed there or wherever I've been, but have always just never grown. And so I think the growth is over everything.
And so you love it here, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, you ever talked to Coach Taft about being the next Grant Taft, like what he meant to this school?
Yeah, I couldn't even think like that. That'd be crazy. But I know like Coach Taft was just more than football. He was just so what he meant as a mentor, what he meant, as a father, what he meant as a leader, and now that I'm here at Baylor, I can see, so much of that was him, but I could see the support, and I can see the outside influences that can make something like that happen, because it's special.
One final thing, your record's 9-8. Remember when I asked you last year, did you ever think about it's your name with 2-7 or what was 1 and whatever it was? And I know there's a lot of bigger goals ahead of you, but 9-8, that's your record now, and it used to be a big hole that you were under.
Yeah, I think, never really look at the record. I think, looking at, the routine, the different team that you have basically every day, and trying to be real with what's real. I think like those are the things. Whereas I think like last year, finding a lot out about myself, finding a lot about our players more or less every day, and not having the expectations a lot of times set to where I know enough about me so that I could say this about you, right? And so there is a space where, hey man, I'm going to love you, but to do that, this is where this has to be, where I can still love myself. I think so much of that was the story of last year, and I think coming to grips really with who I am, and then knowing our players, and for them to really see me, I think has allowed, right, a daily process that where guys can just be themselves, man, and kind of give to the team. And I think, through all that, man, that record can go here or there, but you feel fulfilled though, right? Because you feel like, this is where I'm supposed to be, doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and your heart feels good. So from there, everything is good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate your time. Dave Aranda, Baylor football coach on Sikkim 365 Radio.
All right, when we come back.